Meet Daisy, our 11-year-old pup and lifelong best friend. Lately, she's been slowing down, and we know her food might be the problem. We did the research. Kibble is packed with preservatives, fillers, and additives, stuff we wouldn't eat ourselves. And its high-heat processing strips it of nutrients. We eat fresh, healthy food to live longer. Shouldn't our dogs? That's why we switched to Ollie, made with real human-grade ingredients. Ollie's fresh meals are vet-formulated for optimal nutrition. No mystery meat, just real food. The difference? Daisy's got her energy back. Her coat shines, and she's her happy, tail-wagging self again. Getting started is easy. Take a quick quiz, get a personalized meal plan, and enjoy unlimited routine health screenings for your pup. Give your dog the fresh, nutritious meals they deserve. Delivered to your door. Visit ollie.com/seniorpup. Use code SENIORPUP for 60% off your welcome kit and try Ollie risk-free with their happiness guarantee.
Don't miss Good American Family.
We have a little girl here for adoption. She has dwarfism.
Starring Ellen Pompeo and Mark Duplass.
Something is off.
She's just a little girl. You think she's faking?
She has adult teeth. There are signs of puberty.
Inspired by the shocking stories that tore a family apart.
I don't know what's going on.
How old are you?
You should get a lawyer.
You have no idea how those people hurt this girl.
The Hulu original series, Good American Family. New episodes Wednesdays, streaming on Hulu.
Mochi Health is here to help you start your weight loss journey with caring, personalized support. Meet one-on-one with board-certified obesity doctors and registered dietitians who truly listen and understand your unique needs. Eligible patients can access affordable GLP-1 medications delivered right to their door each month. No insurance? No problem. Mochi Health accepts FSA and HSA, making care accessible and affordable. And with 24/7 customer service, you'll never feel alone on your path to better health. Get started with Mochi Health today. Take the free quiz at joinmochi.com and use code AUDIO40 at checkout for $40 off your first month of membership. That's joinmochi.com with promo code AUDIO40.
That should have given me an idea that, I'm not as bad as these headlines are making me out to be or whatever. But it didn't at the time. It only recently started to sink in where I was like, oh my God, I was fine, right? My life was nowhere close to ruined at all.
That's AJ Daulerio, a writer, blogger, and podcast host who became embroiled in the Hulk Hogan sex tape scandal when he was an editor at Gawker. This is the Silver Linings Handbook podcast. I'm Jason Blair. In the first episode, AJ, the founder of Smallbow, a website and newsletter dedicated to articles about a wide variety of topics, ranging from addiction and recovery to friendships and family, to internet habits and medicine and mental health, joins me to discuss some of the things that tie us all together as human beings. One of those things is making mistakes, and another is suffering. My own journey at the New York Times is one of those moments where we learned from an enormous amount of suffering, an enormous amount of mistakes. And one of the questions that stood out always afterwards was, how do I live with my past? AJ's experience with the Hulk Hogan trial, which led to the bankruptcy of Gawker and the dissolution of Deadspin, Jezebel, and other publications that were related to it, is another moment where he had to learn how to live with the past. We're going to continue that conversation here. I hope you enjoy it. And if you haven't listened to the first episode, I really recommend you go back and do so. And for me, what how that happened, and I remember these like different moments because I was like brainstorming in my head, like what professions could I go into? I was constantly thinking about it.
Sure.
Taking different school, and it's like, who would take me, right? Like, I don't want to go work for the devil because they would definitely take me.
Yeah.
I don't want to be Trump's White House. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I don't want to be Donald Trump's press secretary. Right? As interesting as it might be.
Right.
But so
once like Charles Johnson emails you, you're basically just like, I'm like, man, have I fallen this far? Yeah.
Right. Peter Thiel's like, I got a job for you. Right?
He didn't. He was happy where I was with.
You can be my whipping boy.
Right. Exactly.
But yeah, because you get those too, right? Like you get people who want to manipulate, take advantage of it, or you get but two moments. So my psychiatrist, in retrospect, who was also my therapist at the time, he did both. In retrospect, he was like, this guy is spending way too much time alone at home. Encouraged me to volunteer. And I volunteered for the Fairfax County, Virginia, which is the school system or the area that I grew up and went to school in. For high school, I volunteered for their library system. Just like, okay, I'll go to the main headquarters and I'll do like administrative stuff. And then my mom also had this really cool idea of starting a support group because she was like, we have no idea how to deal with this bipolar thing.
Sure.
And then I started one for people who had bipolar.
Yeah.
Definitely neither of these things are a part of my redemption arc. They were more survival moves.
Sure.
And I remember this time where like I was involved in editing and helping write a grant for the library system. Yeah. And they came back and told me how amazing it was. And it was one of the best grants that they had ever written or submitted. And I was like, that's interesting. And then I remember this one time, this like younger girl around like 17 or 18 came into one of the support group meetings. And then like 6 or 7 months later, she came up to me at the end of one and she's like, you've totally changed my life. Right. And I remember those two moments. One for, okay, you have value, like whether the world sees it or you see it, you have value. And then the second part with the girl who came up to me was, oh my God, like what would have happened to this person if I hadn't gone through my hell?
Right.
Yeah. And it definitely was not about me, but it helped me. And I even, AJ, I think about it like my mother was an amazing person. She died in October of 2003. But I think like, I'm deep in this community within the true crime community and have like great friends. I don't know that I don't think that would have happened if I hadn't disappeared a little bit. And this one woman in the group messaged me because she had noticed I had disappeared. And like that one woman, I would say in the months after my mom died, she fucking saved my life.
Sure.
Because I think I would be dead right now.
Right. Dead how?
Oh, my world fucking collapsed. Yeah. It collapsed. Like I thought I had been sad. I would have been sad when my mom died.
Yeah.
But I felt a sense of loneliness that I've never felt in my life.
Right.
And pointlessness and like all sorts of emotions. And like two things, this woman, right, who helped me see purpose and helped me, I don't know, find community. And then Stephen Colbert's interview where he said with Anderson Cooper, where he said, you have to learn to love the thing that you hate the most, because the one thing that's universal among all humans is that we suffer. And when you suffer, it lets you love people more deeply. So her and that message saved me, man. Totally saved me. 100%.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. And I remember because I don't know.
And to answer your question, dead by the assortment of different ways that an addict could end up dead and a mentally ill person. It could have been anything.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, did you ever feel like who was the person that, if there's a list of, is there still one person that's in your head that lives there rent free who said something that cut you to your core?
Not
when they just-
anymore.
No, really?
Not anymore. Nope.
Excellent.
Nope. Nobody's living in my head rent free anymore, which is not says nothing great about me. It says something great about time.
Yeah.
Because, like, I'll tell you in the beginning, if you want an example of somebody who lived rent free in my head,
Yeah.
you know, my mentor from the University of Maryland, and I should say this I should make this point that the University of Maryland Journalism School, by and large, vast majority of people there, professors, students, supported me immensely,
Yeah.
which was kind of cool
Yeah,
as
it
a
was.
bunch of journalists, because the rest of the journalism community seriously would have hung me if they could have. But my mentor, the one person, he said to another person, somebody who was close to me, why doesn't Jason do the right thing and take himself out into the woods with a gun and do the right thing? And that
Jesus.
stuck in my head for
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you actually repeated that exact phrase in
Yep.
the middle of this interview, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Huh.
Yeah.
So that did stick.
Mhm.
Wow.
That stuck.
Have you had contact with the person again?
No.
Yeah.
No.
And forgave them?
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Wow. Look at
Like,
you. Yeah.
well, the thing is, like,
You're good at your job now.
well,
Walking the walk.
well, I mean, like, like me not forgiving him does me zero good, nor does it do him any harm.
Yeah.
But I think the thing about it is, like, I understand his perspective, right? Like, his heart was
Sure.
broken in that moment. He probably did not have the experience that some of the other people in the journalism school, like the dean, this guy, Reese Cleghorn, was amazing. Well, part of the reason why he was amazing is his kids suffered with depression.
Yeah.
So, like, he got something. So am I going to fault this guy who's heartbroken over what one of his star pupils has done to harm the profession
Sure.
when he doesn't have the knowledge or the understanding?
Right.
So, I'll let it go.
Yeah.
If he showed up at my door in need right now, I would lend him my hand so fast.
I know. Isn't that great? Yeah.
It's the beauty of love. It does not. And let me tell you, like, since my mom's death, lessons in unconditional love,
Right.
both by the people, when I think about all the crazy things I've done over my life and the people who still stood beside me, or I even think about the people who are no longer in my life because they've given me the boot, that I still love unconditionally. And I still, like, pray for them, and I still do things for them. And, there's things in the background they'll never know about. Like, there's something to be said for that unconditionally loving people and being able to forgive them. Doesn't mean you'll always let them back in, but it's something powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. When did you learn how to do that?
Oh, I think I learned how to do that, like, when I was a kid. And by that, I honestly, and I'm saying it did, like, throughout my career as a journalist, I really thought that love around me always had conditions. From front page story, productive, answer the beeper at 3:00 in the morning, like, everything was conditional. But I do think some of that conditional thinking had to do with getting away from my parents, who were unconditional lovers. Like, and I think going back to Stephen Colbert's point, it comes from suffering, right?
Yeah.
Like, my parents grew up, like, during the civil rights movement, during segregation. Their parents, on one side of the family, were sharecroppers. There were slaves on both sides of the family. There was my grandfather's brother was lynched.
Jeez. Yeah.
So one thing that suffering does is put shit in perspective.
Right.
So when Jason goes off to do his scandal that is global and international, all he got was love. So if you want to say the second time that I learned it was the love that I got after I had made such huge mistakes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that that's the part, and I had to. I just did an interview a couple weeks ago, and the man was interviewing me and talking about kind of the hard time that I had gone through, like immediately after the trial, especially when they put the lien on my checking account, and and
Yeah.
there was a lot of the phrasing that you could go around, they can Googleable at that time about me, was that my life was ruined by this, right? And that
Mhm.
I was broke and had $26,000 in student loan debt and nothing else and no job and unemployable and whatever. Just washed up in Florida at like a rehab. And the guy was just like trying to look at this as like a big comeback story. And I was just like, well, that was very dishonest. Like the people that I would never starved, right? Like my friends and my family, like basically put me on scholarship for a year, right? I
Yeah.
mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
lived off the generosity of others for
Same
more
here.
than a year, right? And that should have given me an idea that, oh, I'm not as bad as these headlines are making me out to be or whatever. And but it didn't at the time. It only recently started to sink in where I was like, oh my God, like I was fine, right? My life was nowhere close to ruined at all,
Right.
right? And
And
I
that
have to,
you were loved
yeah.
by people who didn't care.
But I mean, it was also the part where when I retell this now, I have to lead with that, right? I have to, if there's one fact that I need to correct, is the fact that my life was ruined and that this is that much of a great comeback story. No, I mean, I was absolutely like protected, right? And I was like, there were people who ran towards me with a blanket to put out the fire, right?
Yep. And I would not like you can say whatever about my quote unquote comeback story. Yeah, it's really not. It's
Yeah.
like those people, like you said, who ran toward you with the blanket to
Yeah.
pick up the fire and then picked you up and
Yeah.
picked me up and carried us until we could walk on our own.
Yeah. And now look at, both of us have that ability to like sense it in people and run to the people on fire, right?
Mm.
Like
And
it's
it,
instinctive right now. Right?
it goes back to the Colbert point, right? Like, what is that one universal thing? Suffering.
Yeah.
And I think the difference is it probably took a hammer to the head
Yeah.
for us to realize our suffering.
Right. Right. And I don't think it had anything to do with the actual moment. It was more just me. I had to learn just how much I actually hated myself, right?
Mm.
Before all this stuff, right?
Mhm.
And fix that, right? The other stuff was going to work itself out. Time, lawyers, I would probably I applied to be a postal worker and an EMT. like,
I thought of all those things too.
yeah. Postal worker needed a background check that I probably wasn't going to pass at the moment.
You know,
But
it's interesting you say that. I'm not
yeah,
sure that's true
right.
because the fascinating thing. So this is more recent. So like this is 2018 with me. Our company won a contract
Hmm.
and they wanted our people to get security clearances.
Yeah.
And I was like convinced with my background, there was absolutely no. So we're like talking 2018,
Yeah.
2019. And so I delayed it and delayed it and delayed it until they were like, no, seriously, dude, we're not going to like badge you into these buildings and clear you for
Sure.
meetings on an individual basis anymore. And so one security officer at a different company, she was like, Jason, you won't believe what comes through here. Just go be honest.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
And I was,
Yeah.
right?
There are
And so,
murderers here again.
yes, exactly. It was the same thing. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And so, like, I self-disclosed and like I wrote pages and pages and pages on like
Yeah.
everything from like when I stole a figurine when I was 7 years old and got caught at Six Flags Over Georgia
Sure.
to the entire scandal, all the
Yeah.
and don't get me wrong, they like went through like 6 boxes of notes from my mental health providers they normally have an hour-long meeting and they kept on going back for like 6 hours of meetings. And the one question at the end that was getting in the way? It wasn't my mental health. It wasn't my substance abuse. It wasn't the New York Times scandal. It was like, did you actually pay off the student loan debt?
Right.
So, man, you're right. There I was not realizing there were murderers in the room.
Yeah. I mean, I actually took the EMT test here in Los Angeles, and I think the passing score needed was like 81, and I think I got an 82. So,
Nice.
yeah. But I also realized in the middle of taking the test, I mean, and it was all kind of just like 8th grade health, circulatory system, like that sort of stuff that you were basically taking. And I was like, man, I just want to save lives and drive around and make people think that I'm doing something good for the world. Right. That was really all I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was also like, well, if I do this, if I become an EMT for 2 years, then I'll have a story to tell. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Then I could probably write again.
Ready to prioritize yourself in the new year? Your skin is a great place to start. Dime Beauty, founded by a master esthetician, is more than just a skincare company. With 4 skin-conscious categories, skincare, beauty, body care, and fragrance, Dime offers simple, spa-worthy products that will help you enter 2025 with confidence. Whether you're revitalizing your regimen with nourishing products or building one from scratch, Dime makes it easy. The Work System, our all-in-one best-selling routine, includes a cleanser of your choice, toner, serums, and moisturizers, taking the guesswork out of skincare for your healthiest, happiest skin yet. Dime's commitment to clean ingredients and sustainable packaging ensures every product is as gentle on your skin as it is on the planet. With thousands of glowing 5-star reviews and a loyal community, the results speak for themselves. Revive your skin and give yourself the routine refresh you deserve by visiting dimebeautyco.com. That's dimebeautyco.com. Your best skin awaits.
Get this, adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/Wondery. greenlight.com/Wondery.
I wonder whether that it's kind of interesting. I wonder whether part of what's going on is that after we go through something like this, we're propelled towards service.
Yeah.
I mean, because you may not think of a postal worker as service, but that's definitely service.
Sure. I just thought the job was cool because you could smoke while you were delivering the mail.
That's actually a really good point.
We had a mailman that smoked, and I was just like, this. And, it was like, I just moved to LA, and I'm like, you can be outside smoking, just like very chill, get to ride around on that cool Jeep thing, whatever it is. So,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, it makes complete sense.
But I mean, I didn't have any concept of what service actually was until I began to really hone in on my own practice of meditation and journaling. And, I started to take positions at meetings and got a sponsor, steps. Like that's when it all started to kind of at least come together for me, where it's just like, oh, it's not, I can't just show up to a soup kitchen once and say that has kind of fulfilled my probationary period as a human being, and that that'll be it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's more about, it's like a practice that I need to learn. It's a muscle I need to develop like anything else.
And then it becomes a part of you.
Becomes
like
a part.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we were talking about last time about just a value system that I'm still constantly developing and reworking and editing. And I mean, that's the whole purpose of my life now.
And I think it's gotten to the point where it's so a part of your life, I'm sure you're not even thinking about it.
Not at all. No.
Yeah.
I just pick up trash on the road like all the time. I pick up other people.
Same here. I pick up their
other
shopping carts. I
Oh,
get their
man. The shopping carts absolutely do that.
bring them back.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I pick up other people's dog poop. Like, I mean, I never throw my dog poop in other people's cans. I find that just like so disgraceful for some reason. Um, but I'm constantly thinking about like being considerate for others, right? It's more like a kind of just an overall consideration that I think is just something new, that it's almost like I have my eyes wide open now. It's like I'm seeing color for the first time.
Yeah.
In terms of just like acting considerate towards other human beings.
Conscientiousness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's more of probably like a fulfillment of your real values. It's just that your personality and your natural tendencies have shifted because of this traumatic event. Right?
Yeah.
Because like one of the things psychologists will tell you is like your personality kind of locks in somewhere between like 22 and 26, and that without trauma doesn't shift much. I've tested a bunch of people on this and it's probably pretty solid. But the crazy thing about trauma, we focus on the hardship caused by trauma.
Yeah.
But there are moments where trauma can help. It's usually going to have a good chunk of bad in it.
Right.
But sometimes it'll help align your values with and what's important with the way that you ultimately behave. So another question for you, man. So what advice would you have for people, and I'm going to put them in 3 buckets.
Okay.
Who have walked in your shoes, who are walking in the hardest moments, right?
Yeah.
And the people in the future who are sitting here listening to this, thinking that something like this will never happen to them, that someday find themselves.
Yeah.
There. Because I used to be that dude. I used to be that number 3 dude. Convinced.
Right.
Yep.
Right. I mean, I think this is the part that has also been great for me, is having, kind of like the equivalent of like the career equivalent of having a meteor hit your house, right? And then like being kind of changed. It's a life-changing moment. Is that I recognize that I have to have better reactions the next time around when something like this happens. Probably, I don't think it'll be as extreme as it was, but stuff will always happen. We're part of the human race, and we live in a life that is full of hardships a lot of the time. And it's really important that I constantly study about how to basically better be prepared for my reaction. Like, and especially just like when I have members of my family where I am just like going to have to be the person who remains calm, right? No matter what. And that has just become like the main part of my program, my practice. I read a lot of Stoicism, and I try to apply that where I can. And that's the part that I think I realize is just like, this was not that unique. Like everyone kind of gets hit by the same meteor in some capacity, right? Like bad shit happens to everybody. It's just about how I react to it. And I have to learn how to do that better and better each time. But I mean, as far as the other buckets, man, I can't give advice to people. I'm in Al-Anon. I don't do that shit anymore, dude. Come on. Like everybody is equipped to basically figure it out for themselves. My one suggestion would be to like not write a memoir about it, right? Early on. Just like really accept love. I mean, just go easy on yourself as much as possible and live your life through the hard moment, right? I mean, it's just, I think that there are still, like, even on our worst days, I mean, there's still stuff outside that we can do to make at least the most of it, right? There's still ways to basically kind of just be of service. I can tell this story really quick, and this really had a huge impact on me without really giving any revealing details. But there's a member of one of my 12-step communities that I go to and I tend, and he's a father, and his early teenage son just died by suicide recently in like the past like 4 months. And, he came into the meeting and it was just like the hardest share I've ever heard in my entire life. I mean, I never want to hear the sound that came out of that man's mouth ever again because it was shocking, right? Like just what the anguish. And he shared like, the first day, and then he shared again about it. And on that second day, I felt very like honored to have been in the room with him. And, and I gave him a hug and I thanked him for showing up. And then where our meeting is, it's right on, I don't know if you know LA at all, but I mean, I live on Beechwood Avenue, which is just like gives you a direct view of the Hollywood sign. So it's a tourist attraction. So many people drive up and down this road who have, read the Let's Go Los Angeles from 2002 or something. It's the only place to get a great picture of the Hollywood sign. So everyone is there standing in the middle of the street. Locals like myself get a little annoyed by it because like no one really kind of just like, obeys any sort of adherence to traffic. But I see this man who had just had to share about his son dying, and he's walking away, and there's a couple that's a tourist, and they jump out, and they're switching back and forth to take the photos. And he grabs their phone, and he says, "I'll take the photo for you." Right? And I'm like, how the fuck is this guy making this choice on this day of all days, right? When he is so completely overwhelmed by grief. And he took this moment to make this little gesture for these other people. And I had asked them about it, like the next meeting. I said that just had that huge impact on me. He says, like, I didn't even know I did it, but I just knew that like I needed to feel human that day. Right. Right. And I'm like, okay, like that at least gives me some glimmer of just like, if that horrible event should happen in my life, right? That I can still be of service in some small way to other people, right? I still have value to give them. Like I don't have to drown in this, right? And I was just like, man, it was just one of the most beautiful things I think I'd ever witnessed. Like, in and out of these rooms. But I'm like, man, where did he get the strength? And he got it because he had the love and support of a community, and he was able to do that. And he needed to feel a part of other people in some way, or else he'd fall over, right?
Yeah, that image, like the way you said it, like I don't have to drown in this. This isn't quicksand, and I don't have to go down. It makes me think of something that I hadn't really thought about until this moment. Like when I have these conversations with, like, think of this woman, Kimberly Loring, who I just recently had an interview with. Her sister went missing in 2017 in Browning, Montana. The member of the Blackfeet Nation, her sister Ashley, went missing. And I sit on these calls and I never really think about like what I've been through on these calls. And I'm sitting and talking to these people and I'm just baffled by how they have the strength to go through this. And, thinking to myself and listening to what you say, like there are all these things that we think we can't handle or that we won't be able to handle. But like, a psychiatrist once said this to me, the miracle is not how many people get PTSD, it's how many people survive with it.
Yeah.
And that the human mind is very resilient, more resilient than any of us imagine.
I mean,
it doesn't make it any less exceptional, but I think it's a piece of hope that people in the middle of it should hold on to.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that just the more and more I'm exposed to those sort of moments, it will absolutely give me some of the training that I think I need to go through tough times that will inevitably happen, right?
Right. Anyway, man, thank you for the conversation. I really appreciate it. I'm sure it will not be our last or our last.
Probably not. No.
Yeah. And I suspect we'll collaborate together in ways that I'm sorry, poor listeners, you will never see. And I'm sure we might in some ways that are public, but like, I'm really committed to you, man. Not
Yeah.
just because we walked in similar spaces, but because I really think, probably for both of us, but certainly for me, that like I have learned to love other people. So
Yeah.
if you ever need anything, if there's any way I can be of help, just like that original email you sent, I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you as well.
Yes.
And, I think isn't it fascinating that like between the two of us talking about this stuff, there's so much ease there, right? Like there's a trust that we have
Mhm.
between us to basically kind of just know exactly where we're coming from the whole time. And there's no fear of being like recontextualized or misrepresented, right? I mean, which I think is just a lot of the fear that I walked around with for so long,
Oh,
which
that's
is
a good
just like,
point.
why it's easy to talk to you and other people who have kind of been through this sort of thing.
Do you know what
Isn't
the
it?
difference is, though?
What's
The
that?
difference? It's that you and I can't hide the
Right.
bad things that we've done.
Yeah,
But
it's true.
I'm telling you, that other person is sitting across from you in other circumstances, and they are hiding the things that they're done,
Yeah.
and they have no idea how freeing it would be to share them all.
Yeah. No, it's definitely true.
Thanks for joining us today. If you'd like to join us for more discussions with me and other listeners, we can be found on most social media platforms, including a listener-run Facebook group called the Silver Linings Fireside Chat. For those of you who are interested in true crime, you can check out our new publication, The True Crime Times, on Substack for deeper conversations with our guests and live conversations with other listeners. And to support the podcast, you can also join us on our Patreon at www.patreon.com/The Silver Linings Handbook. I'm Jason Blair, and this is the Silver Linings Handbook podcast. We'll see you guys all again in a few days.